Okay, so doing this exercise for understanding culture, I kind of realized that I don't really have that much diversity in my life, I guess. I hang out with a lot of people who are pretty similar to me, but in some kind of nuanced ways. I've found ways that I've seen culture being learned and shared, and being dynamic, systemic, and symbolic. So just dive right in to the ways that I've experienced these things. So culture being learned, I've experienced that because I mean, in many ways, but in one example, where I work, I used to work for another location in Somerset, Kentucky. I work in the Castle location. It's a jewelry store, by the way. I work for a jewelry store in Lexington, but I started out in the Somerset store, and then transferring up here, things were different. So in Somerset, they were a little bit more conservative, and then in Lexington, they were more laid back, and having to dive into those different cultures was interesting. I had to find my way, I guess, to fit in, and it was a positive experience though. So as far as culture being shared, my example of that is I have a lot of friends at work who are cool people and fun to hang out with at work, but we don't really have a lot of things in common. And I have one friend who I can really share a lot with because we came from the same hometown and we've gone through a lot of the same experiences and we think very similarly. So our culture is so similar that we get along really well and we understand each other better. So we share that in that way, and that helps us communicate. And then for culture being dynamic, that one was difficult for me to think of an example, but I deal with a lot of different cultures in my customers at work every single day. I have to get really up close and personal with customers to help them find what they're looking for, and you know, different races, different backgrounds, people from different parts of the country, different ages, different genders, different orientations. I deal with all of those all the time. And even people in similar cultures can be so different. So I have to kind of try to communicate with them all in different ways and find common ground with all of them, which isn't too difficult to do because I like to keep an open mind about things. So there's another way. And then culture being systemic, I guess I've seen a lot of different things, different systemic cultural things in my life, like discrimination sometimes in the workplace and just rules in the workplace, like having a boss change things so much, change the workplace culture so much that it's jarring. So there's a lot of times when I've felt like systemic cultural issues have risen, and there was one manager I had recently who wanted to change the way we all filed paperwork, and it was such a small thing, but it was a big deal to us because we didn't really understand why he wanted to change things like that. And then culture is symbolic. Um, I can remember recently there was a time when symbols were being debated as whether or not they were good or bad, and especially like the Confederate flag. A lot of people don't agree that it's a good symbol and that we should just kind of get rid of it. And a lot of people think that we need to keep it as part of history. So that's a major symbol of, you know, what it means to you. And, you know, symbols can be very important to different people for different reasons. But that's one example of something that I've noticed. So, all right. My video's a little bit too long, so thanks. Bye.